And Senator Durbin, I'm going to go ahead and kick it to you.
Thanks, Senator Britt. Appreciate it, and thank you all for being here. I apologize for stepping away, but Senator Grassley and I were actually on the Senate floor conducting some business relative to the committee, so we were not taking lunch breaks. We were busy during that period of time. Mr. LaCour, you were Solicitor General for the state of Alabama, is that true?
That's true, Senator.
And there came a time when you were involved, I believe in 2023, in the drawing of maps for, were they legislative or congressional districts?
Senator, that case is still in active litigation, and I am an attorney for my client, so I want to be careful not to tread on any privileges. But there is some evidence that came out in litigation that state lawyers were advising state officials on issues of state law, which is something that the Attorney General's office in Alabama and in many states does do with pending legislation.
Could you clarify, were these legislative districts or congressional districts?
Sorry, Senator, these were congressional districts.
Okay. And the case is still pending?
Yes, Senator, we have appealed to the United States Supreme Court.
Public reporting and testimony revealed that you played a significant role in working with the state legislature to create maps that continue to disregard federal court orders and suppress the influence of black voters. Would you like to comment on that?
Senator, yes, I would like to say, again, we have arguments that we advanced in the case as to why that 2023 map is consistent with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act and with Equal Protection Clause's demands that states not use race to sort voters into different districts. And when it comes to defiance of court orders, I don't think any court order has been defied in that case. There was a court order in 2022, back in January, a preliminary injunction entered against our earlier 2021 plan, and that order was complied with to the point where we got a stay from the United States Supreme Court.
I hate to interrupt you, but I'm going to ask this specific question so that we get to the heart of this. State lawmakers said you helped draw the new map as Solicitor General in a room across from state legislatures. You pushed for the inclusion of so-called legislative findings and helped write talking points for them. Are you aware of that assertion?
Senator, I'm aware of that evidence and those allegations.
True.
Senator, all I'm going to say is what the evidence shows in the case, because again, I'm an attorney that is still litigating and are privilege issues that I do not want to overstep.
In the case of Allen versus Milligan that went before the U.S. Supreme Court, I understand in 2022, you argued that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act required evidence of discriminatory intent to prove a violation. Do you understand now that that is different than what the law says?
Senator, we presented several arguments in that case. I think the Supreme Court has agreed that intent is not irrelevant under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. In that case, we presented an argument that was similar to one that Frank Easterbrook had adopted for the Seventh Circuit, that if you're trying to determine whether a map is dilutive, it's helpful to have a benchmark, dilutive compared to what? And we had argued that if a plan that is being attacked under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act looks like a map you might expect from a race-neutral process, then it's not discriminating against anyone on account of race. Now, ultimately, the Supreme Court, by a 5-4 vote, did not adopt that particular argument, but the litigation continues.
Judge Lewis, you've been on the bench since 2016. The Alabama judicial canons state that, quote, it is desirable that a judge or candidate for election to judicial office endeavor not to be involved in the internal workings of a political organization. You have served as a member of executive committee of an Elmore County political organization since 2006, including chairman since 2018, and the state party's executive committee since 2008. Why did you not follow the recommendation of the Alabama judicial canons?
Senator, it is a recommendation, but I also checked with the ethics and, of course, the JIC, which is our regulatory agency, and they permitted me to do that.
Pardon me, who permitted you?
The Judicial Inquiry Commission, JIC, is our regulatory body. And we run partisan elections in Alabama. I'm an elected official, so that was kind of a segue into my political career.
Thank you. Senator Britt, I'd like to have an additional 60 seconds if you don't object.
Absolutely.
Justice Maxwell, in Nash versus State, you upheld a 12-year sentence for a defendant convicted of a misdemeanor 12 years, convicted of a misdemeanor for possessing a cell phone while in jail. You wrote, and I quote in that decision, while obviously harsh, the sentence is not grossly disproportionate. 12 years in prison for a misdemeanor possession of a cell phone. Please explain.
Senator, first, I would like to clarify that I was not the trial judge in that particular case, and this was not a misdemeanor charge. It was a felony offense that was charged by the district attorney, and our role as the Mississippi Supreme Court was to decide whether that was a lawful sentence within the parameters set by the legislature, and it fell within the parameters that were set by the Mississippi legislature, and it was a 9-0 decision by our Supreme Court on that question, whether it was a lawful sentence.
The defendant had a wife and 3 children that depended on him, had been staying out of trouble with the law for nearly a decade since his prior conviction. The crime was victimless, and the facts suggested his crime was accidental and likely caused by a failure in booking procedures. And yet you thought 12 years for a misdemeanor was warranted?
Senator, I did not impose my personal thoughts about that particular sentence. What I did was follow the letter of the law.
But the range, what was the range of sentencing in that?
The range was up to 15 years in
From
prison.
what low number? 6 years, right?
I don't remember the minimum range. We were just looking
I think
at
it was 6.
whether it was within the parameters.
12 years for possession of a cell phone.